be happy in his world. We're only making plans for Nigel as this future in a British steel. We're only making plans for Nigel. Nigel's whole future is as good as sealed. Yeah, and if young Nigel says he's happy, he must be happy, he must be happy, he must be happy in his world. Nigel is an outspoken, but he likes to speak and he loves to be spoken to. Nigel is happy in his world. Nigel is happy in his world. We're only making plans for Nigel. We only want what's best for him. We're only making plans for Nigel. Nigel just needs this helping hand. And if young Nigel says he's happy, he must be happy, he must be happy, he must be happy in his world. We're only making plans for Nigel. We only want what's best for him. We're only making plans for Nigel. Nigel just needs this helping hand. We're only making plans for Nigel. He has this future in a British steel. Yeah. We're only making plans for Nigel. Nigel, 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 I'm crouching here with a telescope in hand, looking up to cross the Lego land. I really think it's about time that she came down. She a laughing, giggly, whirly bird. She got to be obscene to be upheard. I really think it's about time that she came down. And I object to all the airmail that she picked up, the airmail that she picked up, the airmail that she picked up. Oh, when she's up there twirling round, just like a helicopter, she's landing on the town. It's about time that I stop her, when she's up there twirling round, wow, just like a helicopter, Now she's away from convent, she's gone wild. She's grown from a nice young lady to a child. I really think it's about time that she came down. She's a laughing, giggly, whirly bird. She got to be obscene to be unheard. I really think it's about time that she came down. when she's up there twirling round, just like a helicopter, copter. She's landing on the town. It's about time that I stop her, when she's up there twirling round, round, just like a helicopter, copter. A heli, ow! But she's up there turning round, like a gonna try a little experiment and pop, 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 pow, pow. Hey, hey, hey. All right, we're doing another test.
Hey, hey, I can sing so gay if that's the way you, hey. What does a gay horse eat? Hey! Welcome. Just in case you didn't hear that, what does a gay horse eat? Oh, you heard that one? Hey! God bless all the horses and all the gay ones too. I guess they're just horses, huh? You don't need to make a distinction or a separation. How's everybody doing tonight? Hi. I love you. You're lovely. Where they say, all the world's a lover and everyone loves a lover, so something, therefore you love me. I don't know. I left some parts out, but it ends the same way. Either way. I hope the mic's coming through cleanly and clearly. I never rock the mic with the pantyhose, but I do have a skull bandana. I guess you can't see it because of the skull frame. Let's see. Watch this. Watch this. Oh, you see it now, don't you? Pointing right at my face. Psh, psh. Pointing right at my... You can't see the mouse moving, can you? No, that's okay. Let's move this skull frame back. Just so people know. People know, you know? Yeah. So again, how you doing? How you doing tonight? How's everybody feeling? Well, that's all right. You know, sometimes I'm shy too. And it's not shy so much as selective. You know, like, how are you going to spend your energy? Your social energy, especially. This is something I think a lot of people don't understand. And a lot of people really do understand it on the other side. What that is... Oh, man, I wish I could remember the guy's name. I think his channel is his name. And I'm terrible with those. Good with faces, really bad with names. He does content about... see, mental disease is that's too heavy. That's too harsh, right? It's not a binary. In other words, it's not you have mental unhealth or you have mental health. It's not one or the other. Every day is a little different. Every month is a little different. Every year is a little different. Every person and their response to new situations and environments and diets and sleep, etc., affects, you know, the whole deal that you carry around with you. And I don't think it's like simple. I don't mean to condescend, because the deal is, I think I'm trying to say things that people might say, yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem to translate in text online. And I am hashtag not a game. Bothered. I think righteously bothered. I think justly might be a better word. Justly bothered by the conscious propagation of certain cultural... If I could sum it up easily, this wouldn't be a problem. You know, I talk to people and I say, get to the point, make it short, give me the elevator pitch. And I could try, if we know what we're talking about. I have a little time. And I mean, just a little. I don't need much time, maybe a day, maybe. To kind of plan the texture and the, it's like making an itinerary, right? You want to start with the beginning. There's a body, but in the body you want to kind of climax, of course. And if anyone comes, I want them to experience the climax, is what I'm saying. Like everybody. It's not just you, all of the yous, the we's for the climax. But, you know, you want to organize your presentation or your approach focus, because we do only have so much time. People only have, if any or much, to be charitable, attention, and the context in which they're going to place the information, the presentation, the thing that you're trying, you have to be conscious of the limitations and constraints within the endeavor of trying to take a complex idea or a meaningful message and translate it. It's not osmosis. Someone has to consciously, or at least sensually, the difference between listen and hear. Either one works. In this case, it may affect you. How that effect, and maybe in some cases affect, plays out is determined by, the things that precede it. So if we think about it, you want to categorize and organize things. Yes, that's a good way to approach anything. But when it comes to emotions and the general human, what did Arendt call it? The human condition. It is static in its totality, but it is not homogeneous. Well, no, it's in its entirety, it is homogeneous. No, it's not static, I guess is the word I'm trying to think of. It's not consistently similar. Over a large enough scope, over a large enough, if you get your perspective out far enough, if you have the right vantage point, then you'll see all of the patterns repeat. It may take you some time to mark them. In fact, I don't think we have enough time to mark them all. But we live in an age right now that data collection, in both ways. I mean, in the way that we're used to hearing that in the public, your data is being collected by companies that will sell your information. That type of data collection, which brings to mind matters of mass surveillance, which I'm amazed is not a conversation that we find like functionally happening. You see kind of, sorry if this is you, but like whack job libertarian millennials. This is just a chillin' day. Okay, look, if you're interested in the political spiel, if you're interested in how simple, complex, people make it complicated, which is such a tragedy. It is complex, not complicated. As the political thing, I'm saying I'm chilling, I'm cool, I'm nice, I love you, I hope you love me, that type of stuff. In regards to hashtag not a game, that's real. In fact, the anecdote, we may convert it into a parable even, that comes to mind to best express this point was given by a, YouTube person on a podcast or something. What do the kids call him? And what's his name? Samuel Cedar. He mentioned having met Larry Elder once. And I think he said he was with Janine Garofalo. So this was, back in the day, maybe like Bush era. I don't know. But the story is that meeting Larry, he's like very congenial and gregarious and these things. And I guess you could consider someone feeling like it's ingratiating, but, it was just nice and ha 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 ha. And I think the impression is, why are you like this? We are not, simpatico. In fact, we are in opposition, in active opposition to one another, ideologically and materially and et cetera, et cetera. And the response is, we leave that on the field. And I do believe Samuel Cedar, no, we don't leave it on the field. On the field, everything's the field. You have the luxury and the privilege to step off of the field. Wonderful. But don't forget. And if you do, and you want to get back to that knowledge, to that gnosis, do not adopt this superficial aesthetic where it's like workers unite and capitalists are destroying the world and blah, 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 blah. Is there truth to that? Yes. But that narrative really just seeks the destruction of America. And you're like, that's a crass reduction. No, it's not. The undercurrent and all of the interconnected opinions that are like sucking people into this, that's what people like DeSantis, dumbasses that don't see anything, they're so far into their like theocratic fetish. It's a fetish, delusion, indulgence. They're so far into that. Their reasoning is intact, but it's their rationale is based off very faulty info. And that's what we find in general. People look at information, they try to place it in context, they put it in some kind of before, now, later situation, we do what we do to try to organize information that comes in. But as it pertains to politics and economics and society, which remember here, that's one thing. That's one thing. You know, we are a political animal, whatever. Economic, social, political, same thing. That's what we are. All of that is just us. It's complicated and it's complex. So don't make it more complicated. We need to parse things out. And there is a cultural undertow that the people like DeSantis would say, oh, that's Marxist, you know, that type of thing. And the old people sitting around watching Fox News because it's just on at the, I don't know, the HOA headquarters, where they have all the rulers that measure the grass and make sure the color chips to make sure that people's Christmas lights match the neutral white that the HOA allows. In there, they got the Fox News, you know, going as a courtesy, and they watch it, they absorb it. Like I said, the difference between listening and hearing, it doesn't really matter, because the effect is the same mostly in the aggregate. These people assume, even if they don't agree with it, that there's an element of truth to it. Perhaps it's an exaggeration or maybe even a characterization. But at heart, they have the context to say, well, that ideology has been done to death. People in the 60s that were exposed to the new left, no less World War II, where you had actual fascism in effect, and you had this huge Russian lie, right? The revolution was needed. The revolution was good. That was progress. Those were steps towards the ideal. But what comes from that is, of course, this power void, and it's a little more complicated than that because it's like suns and black holes, right? There's like power, positive and negative, playing out in Russia for a long time over large space. We can't condense Russia on a just chillin' day to something like that. But when Lenin comes in, who didn't just come in, he was there before, at least in spirit, and they're still in spirit. Stalin, according to a general poll, from what I understand, this is like totally anecdotal, but it comes from a source that I trust. Over 50% say, Stalin might have been bad, but the progress that came from Stalin kind of makes it worth it. What? He killed more people than the Nazis did. That's a fact. That is a stone cold fact. And if you include the soldiers that died, or just throw more bodies at it, then there's complicity there, which is ironic because as Russia critiques America, they take everything like, oh yeah, what about that? What about the illegal invasion of Iraq? And that's a good point, but it doesn't prove your point. You're going for people like Obama, drone strike, murdered people, and blah, 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 blah. We can solve all of that. As far as Sam Cedar, Majority Report, the phony leftists go, all they're doing is perpetuating and validating this rank. I think of the rancor, like some dirty, funky tooth funk. It's rank like that. Something you can pull out of the drain and smell it. Go ahead. That's what you're endorsing as you play into this anti-capitalism thing. The amassing capital and using capital to secure more is a problem. Yes, it's a huge problem, but we can do that by saying power dynamics, the power differential. Capitalism is Leninist rhetoric or it's Marxist rhetoric, which is fine. But remember, Marx made this word up. All right. So we're talking about capital. It's a representation of value. And what you talk about the means of production, representing the golden goose or something to take over. That's changed. All of that's changed. He barely got it right to begin with, but he got a lot right nonetheless. And compared to how other people operate in their weird religious, emotional things pull people towards, it's like the Greek word daimon, where demon comes from. It's like inspiration. Where's your sense of humor come from? Do you ever get a feeling where you're like, you know what? I'm spontaneous. I want pistachio ice cream. No, that's gross. I want mint chocolate chip ice cream. But the chocolate chips have to be shaved really, really thin. None of that, I don't want to be sitting there. Anyways, you can get distracted with things you want and give into that. And that's a good thing if you play it right. Just like playing music. You don't want to go in my estimation, there's no final answer on this. And we'll skip over the other stuff here in just 1 minute. Here's my wrap up. How long is this taking? I have no idea. In fact, let's start recording. The wrap up. Russia's narrative is just flat out wrong. And it's an extension, this like ironic, hypocritical extension of the Leninist narrative where there's fascism and there's communism. Those are the two poles. So when you hear people getting into like European politics compared to American, and you talk about fascism, you're just saying the opposite of communism. And because that's like a sexier academic intellectual, Noam Chomsky is a failed scientist. He is. I don't have some emotional grudge against him. It's just I've listened to him. I didn't grow up listening to him. I investigated him. Anyways, we're wrapping this up. We need intellectuals in the public sphere, in the public space, not only to do their process, but to make the case that we can get behind because we need help and we need role models, but we also need autonomy and to manage our own balance of daemon and stoicism. I don't know. There are two poles. Communism, fascism is the wrong thing. Fascism is authoritarian and it's exclusive. Because of what the Nazis did, it now includes some other things too. It's a hard word to really use outside of illustrating historical context. To call somebody a fascist is really just to like out yourself as one, because the core ideology in fascism, no matter where you're going to find it, in all the cases that really are confirmed fascist, it's you're with us or against us. And if you're against us, then you're a threat and we need to actively take care of that because it's a threat to our existence. It makes everything an existential crisis. And capital is like saying, I don't know, art. It's a medium of exchange for other ideas or things. So anyways, Sam Cedar and his crew, he really liked the Matt Leck thing. I see where ideas come from and I see where they go. That's what I've done over the past year on the internet. I enjoyed content before, but that's another story why I shifted, why I activated, and what I know now, and why it's important that you are here to hear it and also, mix yours in and we spread it to do it right. This is why things like solidarity are cringe and why the left is cringe because they don't get it. And the left, which isn't a thing, that was my argument when I came into this. It's even more so now. There's no left. There are people that want to see the destruction of America, that think America must pay. And it's almost like the Mujahideen. Those guys were told, go with God. You've got these Russians in your country trying to tell you how to live, but you're righteous men that listen to God, right? In other words, the daemon, the diamond, the thing, the spontaneous spirit that says, this is what you need to do, right? Like to cut that out completely is wrong. People are like, listen to voices in your head, it's schizophrenic. It's not voices in your head, it's feelings and motivations. And you either learn how to anticipate and direct those, or you resist them and end up fucking yourself over even more. That's another complicated conversation, which Lacan can be a very useful reference to dissect. But the Mujahideen were in, the Russians during the Soviet era were trying to convert them to their, all or nothing bullshit that was not successful. That's not a narrative. It's very straightforward. How badly of a humanitarian failure the post 1917 Russian Revolution, all that was a failure. And people like Matt Leck and that vein of toxicity, it's not bad faith. Although I do think he should know better. He should know better. I don't think he does know better. And the influence, I think he is good faith because he really thinks that way, which makes sense because where does he live in? Like the hipster, Brooklyn or whatever, right? Like, and that's fine. That's fine. That's cool, actually. I got friends in the city that pay way too much for something that's like that size and it stinks. And I saw someone that I guess I'd consider like an internet friend, bought a pack of cigarettes and it looked so delicious. And her legs looked very nice too. It was a good picture. It was like, It was a brand new pack of Newports with the cellophane on, all shiny. It looked really nice. And in my mind, I remember like when you open a pack of cigarettes, I remember, packing them and all that stuff. You open them and it smells like raisins to me. There's like a raisiny note to it. But I get by, and that's another objective, subjective consideration. Vaping has taught me, also radicalized me. This is important. We got to get into this. We'll look at the debate, but listen. This can be done pretty quickly. As far as cigarettes go, you inhale like, how cigarettes do. It's called mouth to lung, right? Where you pull it into your mouth like, and then you pull it into your lungs. But like if you hit a joint or something, or a bong, it's called direct lung. You just pull it right into your lungs. There's no mouth to lung. So when you're transitioning from analog cigarettes to, whatever, vape is that's a cringe word. It's cringe, but you know what I'm talking about when I use it. That put me off from trying it. Anyways, a couple years before the pandemic, I'm like, the cigarettes are just too expensive. And my friend who bought the pack of cigarettes, I think lives in some kind of metropolitan area. Those cigarettes must have been $10 at least for 20. But anyways, once you start to isolate the experience of the cigarette, there's something called throat hit, where the nicotine, like when you pull it into your mouth, first off, the air has to be right. The air restriction for the mouth to lung, you don't want to be like pulling through a straw. You want to have some resistance. And that amount of resistance that you're used to, plus the way the nicotine hits, the way it tastes, smells, the whole experience, how it feels, it's a totality thing. If you remove one of those elements from that and you're like, here's something close, but it's not the same thing, it's not going to do it. So, this is this uncanny valley thing that we can apply to any other thing that we're looking at. This is like right now in the world, everything is in the uncanny valley. It's the uncanny valley of everything right now. The other part of vaping that I want to bring up that's pertinent, that helped radicalize me. I've always been radical, like really. Yeah, it's not always fun, but it's always been true. So with vaping politically, this is a godsend. Well, not just politically. In general, this is a godsend. But politically, the response was teenage addiction. It's an epidemic, blah, 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 blah. Look at how they came after Juul. That is a witch hunt. And people like Sam Cedar Matt, like, will buy into this. They'll be like, well, they did advertise to kids or there's something. It's like this general, it's like a fetish for collectivization that you want so bad. And there's been so few rewards. It's like going for a sports team that never wins. It gets close sometimes. You just want one win or two. And that's what I said yesterday, universal healthcare. No, not until you can answer what is health. If that's a central conversation, what is health? Who gets to determine it? What's the ideal? How should we care for our people? And who is the we? How authoritative is it? Are you ready for I know insurance companies are discussing. Whew, so much to talk about. I really wish someone would take me up on the offer to come on and let me listen instead of talk. This is best when there are more voices and more ideas. And I do mean what I say. So I know conflict plays well on the internet, which makes me feel like even crazier that there's so little response. It also proves and backs up how constricted and gate kept. I don't think that it's always on purpose, but I do think there are purposeful. Anyways, another different conversation with the vaping. They say the teen epidemic and blah, 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 blah. And they'll say there's vape oils and they're always looking for something. Vaping's completely harmless. Completely. All of the flavors are FDA approved. And you can say, oh, the FDA. Whatever. Yeah. That is fucking stupid. They may make mistakes, but it is a safeguard. It is a regulatory safeguard. And you can look into the process that they enacted and judge for yourself if it tells you what you need to know about the thing. As things are intellectual property and copyright law and all that is too. I love law, but we're doing the abstraction that allows us to then fortify the law because we need to develop what the laws are. Universal healthcare, you ain't ready for that. You're talking about banning assault weapons and stuff. It's like that's not even close. And just because mental health is part of it, and that's become a cliche, and just because prayers and hope are cliche and absolutely worthless, it's like the little bits of sanity that we can pull together when there are tragedies have nothing to do with going after these imaginary bad guys. The process is all busted up. You can see it in vaping where it's like the restrictions that they put on the USPS for selling it, the vendors. I saw a rash of vendors pop up that sell nicotine and PG, which is propylene glycol, and VG, which is vegetable glycerin. That's it. That's all that's in vaping, like the vape juice. That's it. And they're all water soluble, United States pharmaceutical grade, food grade, kosher, for real. Okay. It's like 99.990% pure. You have lab testing information. I mean, do your due diligence. Don't just buy garbage and put it into your body. But it's more a matter of hygiene than it is the substance itself. Cigarettes leave tar, and they're terrible. Nicotine is a stimulant and terribly addictive. But that's not like, if teens are getting addicted to these things more easily, of course address that. And don't pretend that it's not happening, but don't make it into a crusade. Don't make everything into a crusade that connects back to the aha system, told you so. Now we want to see you crumble. Really? I mean, you might say in practice, I'm a utilitarian or a consequentialist, or here's a joke to cover up the uncomfortable difficulty that we continue to ignore and make into a culture war point. It's a problem, guys. I mean, like, really. And there's nobody else out here. I think Destiny tried. He tried, but he's kind of like, I think Destiny's in between Bad Empanada and me. I think people's personalities, their capabilities, their breadth of knowledge, their experience, their enjoyment of public speaking and things like that, they vary, right? And then when we've got autism, we've got ASD to consider now too, and ADD and ADHD, because these things are real, and many personalities that participate in politics and creativity and non-norminess, or normies that love non-normies. Like my mom, she's a good, you can ask my mom, okay? She probably won't agree with anything other than she's, appreciates non-normies, right? But you got to be true. You got to be good. You can't continue. You'd be like, I'm going to be a rebel. I'm going to rebel against the status quo. And now fuck everything. That's the thing. That's why I brought up the William Blake quote. The palace of wisdom is down the road of excess. You don't know what's enough until you've had too much. I don't know if that's universally true for everyone, but vaping, you can see the effect of what this does to the power dynamic that's in place. They lose all these taxes from the cigarettes, but cigarettes cost so much because if we're to believe the hype, which we probably should regarding cigarettes, because that's a whole nother power differential that we won by going after the tobacco. Anyways, today's a chillin' day. So, ba-bum. How's everybody doing? Let's check in on the chat. I bet it's popping. Oh, it is popping. My buddy Wesley Curry II is with us. How you doing, my friend? Okay, give me a second to read all this. I'm going to be tempted to respond to the first message, but because I think I haven't been absorbing this properly. So pardon me for one moment. You gave Noah a plum? Is that a sexual thing? What? The dove, okay. Okay, I read Leviticus. I read Second Leviticus, and it just talks about yeast and bread and stuff. I don't get that. I need more explanation on the Levitical thing. As far as Allah and Jesus and time and war go, look, war is not some accidental thing. War is not oops, it's going to happen if the bad war people get their way. There are geopolitical tensions that are tied into. That's really complicated. Here's how it gets really simple. Aesop's fables. Do you know Aesop's fables? Okay, the grasshopper and the ants and the grasshopper. The ants and the grasshopper. You've got all these ants, and just one, or in the story it's one, but in the movie A Bug's Life, which is the same story, it's the ant and the grasshopper. Ants and the grasshopper. The ants outnumber the grasshoppers by magnitudes and magnitudes and magnitudes. So if they just looked at each other and said, you know what, we can have what we want instead of what they want, you solve the problem. Now, it might take some conflict, but that's what war is, okay? Now, on the other side, you've got the military-industrial complex, and you've got countries that have been... Are you in a country that has war going on right now? Because in those countries, the narratives are going to be... I understand why when I say narrative, I mean the story. When you're why is this happening? Why is this happening? You could say it's happening because the Americans sold weapons to, the Saudis, and the Saudis are backing, secretly backing how's the Yemen thing? That was supposed to stop. How's that going? If you're in Yemen or you're in Israel or you're in Syria or you're in Sudan or you're in, there are so many places that if you're there, we can't talk about this unless I know kind of generally where you are, because the narratives are going to be different. Wherever you go, people are going to say, this is where the world came from. This is what a man is. This is what a woman is. This is what work is. They're going to have some instruction about that. That's wrong. It's just wrong. Oh, you had to go? Okay. So if you don't tell the vision, there's no the vision. There's no vision. There are impressions. There are associations. There are things that make us feel inclined to act on them. They may or may not pay off. The new atheists are like, nope, that's all dumb. That's all stupid. And that's how you get homogeneity and ignorance, willful ignorance, because, spirit is real. Spirit is real. I didn't mean to say Israel. So again, nobody's here. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Since no one's here, I don't feel the need to really do anything except just stop and go do fun things on my own. But here's a couple other points of wisdom. If people were here, I was going to draw, but doesn't look like it. So, fuck you. World, internet, dumbasses, groupthink, herd, sheeple, all that stuff is just true. Break away. Or if you come across me and you hear this crazy, toothless, weird old guy saying, out to get me and stuff. They're not out to get me. It's just, this is how you guys do that have computer savvy, because I leave my IPN wide open. I only go, like Twitter on this Google account. Like I have my ways to be smart. Okay, this is my experiment. This is my journalism. I want to see what happens. And what's happened is the more I've introduced myself, the more I find a really weird suppression of engagement. It implies that there are only so many people on the internet, like 300 people, right? And you might not see them all on the same day, but you're going to see all of them eventually. And it's like they're like bitchy little gossipy fuckers. They're like, oh, he's a liberal. Which is, I'm just saying that because that's a problem. I don't give a fuck if someone thinks I'm a liberal. It's like, sure, I am. I like liberty. I like autonomy. I like the possibility of dreaming your own businesses up. I like the idea of countries having autonomy and participating in the global economy. Like a liberal, I believe that lesbians, gays, bisexual, transsexual, queer, and more people should be able to live in harmony however they feel is appropriate. Sure, what's wrong with being a fucking liberal, right? So everyone's like, shit lib. Okay, shit lib is more useful. That's like a normie. It's someone that's resistant to the nuance and context that makes this urgent. And that is the problem that I express, and I think it's a powerful idea, but the people that could help me are busy doing their own thing, and the shitheads that fucking sit in this stew and police it as if they have a movement, it's not a fucking movement. You're just suppressing the nuance that could set this momentum straight. So, or it is actually Russian or Jewish, because Israel is fucked, man. Israel is fucked. That mind frame that is a chosen people, and we're going to, the law and all this law. Without the law, we'd be, the obsession with law is people that fetishize things as if they are certain rather than use them for spiritual uplift and a means to engage with one another. I'm not going to be able to break that down simply, but we need to have the opportunity and the support and encouragement to have honest, meaningful, effective, that's what you're losing out on, effective criticism. Not hate, not bigotry, not insanity. It's so dismissive. The thought terminating cliches are so dismissive. They're a direct demonstration of willful ignorance and actual bigotry. And it's either like Russian, Chinese, Israel kind of weirdness, because they know the influence is a currency. It's really means something. And if anyone for even one fucking second, Vosh, Destiny, Counterpoints, Majority Report, Matt Bender, Brandon Sutton, Bradley Alsop, even Matt Leck, come on, let's solve this. Put me in my place. It's like they're too big for that. They're too big for that. I didn't even know who you were, where you come from. And it just leaves things unaddressed. The politics of whom and how and why you talk to other people is so fucked, which kind of makes sense because what you're pulling from has been busted. And you expect this is the end. This is, let me check one more time. If someone's here, we'll do drawing, but I don't think anybody is. No one's here, so fuck this. Pearls before swine. Literally, it's called pearls before swine because swine only, they're really intelligent, they're funny, they're fun, but they're also incredibly self-centered and greedy, and they're assholes. And they really have to say, like, what's in it for me? They're always pushing for, like, make it about me, make it about me. I need, they're not going to put any attention or care into establishing context so that you can move on to more meaningful perspective and maybe even an understanding of collective solutions. They're like, no, it's unions. We're done with that. We just need to overthrow capitalism. It's like so lazy and dumb and broken. And the conservatives are like, what are you so upset about? You just want to blah, 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 blah. It doesn't make sense to me, blah, 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 blah. And you miss out because it's not immediately, because no one's put any work into it. That's what it is. And the ones who have, I appreciate them. I appreciate them. They appreciate me. It is what it is. It's not up to them to like make everything perfect. But in general, it's kind of like, it's not heavy. It's not heavy if everyone lifts just a little. And because that's the case, people who have oversight and power will do things to leverage outcomes that they would prefer. And right now the stakes are too high to have somebody like me come in and break everything down and change the status quo. Like my face doesn't matter. Like it's the delivery of the message that matters. Right? I would love to be able to afford to live, no less like help my children and wife and all the debts that I have. I would love to get out of debt with the monopolizing comic book company Diamond. There's only one. I think DC during the pandemic set up some distribution services, but they're like Warner Brothers. I'm not comfortable with the two. Anyways, but it's like I've lived this way for so long. It's one of the reasons I don't have a cell phone. It's one of the reasons I stay under the radar. I come out from under the radar to engage because you motherfuckers need it. It's not egocentricity. It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. I will demonstrate those things just to trigger you because that stuff is meaningless. It's worthless. It's the idea that's underneath. I will pass away. The ideas are what need to be delivered. Just like dumb fuck kids, youth is wasted on the young. They do not understand the value and merit in some information, which can be explained because they get so many cliches and so much bullshit from people that want to tell them how to live. But the internet has put everyone into this mind frame where they are going to anticipate and expect that this is where someone's coming from. If they don't conform to the expectations politically, socially, economically, that they prefer or think they prefer, then they will put you in the pigeonhole, and it's wrong. I don't mean it's wrong ethically and morally, but it's also wrong empirically. Logically. Well, no, not logically, because your logic it's just bad logic. It's bad reasoning. And we can demonstrate this very easily, very, very, very easily, very quickly. Give me, say 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, whatever. Give me the parameters and I will show you how. Fuck you all. We'll have fun when people come.